I was once married to a man named Adam, gentle, steady, and unfailingly kind. His love wasn't grandiose or showy. It was constant, patient, and real. He loved in a way that made you feel safe, like you belonged somewhere without ever having to ask. He gave all of himself and asked for nothing more than honesty, kindness, and a little time. But I broke that. I shattered something pure. Not out of malice, but confusion, selfishness, and a hunger for something I couldn't even define at the time. I told myself I had fallen out of love. That our quiet life had become too still. That craving passion made me human, not ungrateful. So I left. I walked away from our home, our routines, from the man who still looked at me like I was his world. And I did it because of someone else. Someone who felt like excitement in a time of uncertainty. His name was Jason. It was early 2020, the world was unraveling with the pandemic, and so was I. When Adam found out about the affair, I didn't lie. I didn't spin a story. I sat across from him in our kitchen, the same place where we'd shared quiet breakfasts and soft Sunday mornings, and I told him the truth. I told him about Jason. About how I had already emotionally checked out long before I said the words aloud. About how I thought leaving was the right thing. Adam didn't yell. He didn't try to shame me. There were no thrown objects, no bitter legal battles. He nodded, tears in his eyes, and said he hoped I found whatever it was I was looking for. Then he packed a few bags and left, moving 2 hours away to a quieter town where he could focus on his PhD and start fresh. We finalized the divorce quietly, civilly. I thought I had done the hard thing, the honest thing, and that somehow I'd feel free. But there's no freedom in hurting someone who loved you that deeply. There's only a hollow kind of guilt that settles in places you can't reach. Life with Jason moved fast. He had 3 kids from a previous relationship, and when we had our own baby together, the days blurred into exhaustion. Diaper changes, school pickups, meals half-eaten while standing. I kept telling myself I was building something new, something worthwhile. But cracks began to form, small at first, then widening. Through it all, I tried to maintain a shred of connection with Adam. On his birthday, during holidays, when I heard he'd finally completed his doctorate, I mailed thoughtful gifts, sent heartfelt texts, little gestures I thought he might appreciate. But I never heard back. No reply. Not even a short thank you. And that, more than anything, hurt. Adam had always been the type to write thank you notes for a dinner invitation. That kind of silence felt intentional. I told myself he needed space. That maybe one day we could be friends again. But deep down, I knew I no longer had a place in his life. Then came the next blow. Rachel had been my best friend since college. Smart, sharp-witted, ambitious. A brilliant attorney who also taught at the university part-time. She lived in the same city as Adam, and though we didn't speak every week, we had one of those friendships that could go months untouched and still feel close. In late 2021, she started replying less. She said she was swamped with work. I didn't push. Rachel had a habit of retreating during the early days of a new relationship, and I figured this was more of the same. The following summer, Jason and I took a short trip to that city. I reached out to Rachel, left messages, tried calling. No response. Figured she was just busy. Then in October, I returned alone for a Halloween party hosted by an old classmate. I needed a break. From motherhood, from marriage, from the growing sense that something in my life wasn't quite right. Rachel was there. She was dressed as Cleopatra, drink in hand, glowing in that effortless way she always had. I approached her, heart full of old affection. Her hug was brief. Her smile forced. "I tried calling you this summer," I said, trying to keep it light. She took a sip of wine. "I was on my honeymoon," she said flatly. "Honeymoon?" I blinked. "Wait, you got married?" She nodded. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. "To who?" I asked, already bracing for the answer. "Adam." I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. My mind scrambled for a version of reality where that sentence didn't exist. She didn't let me recover. "You don't get to be angry," she said, cutting me off. "You broke his heart." We didn't even speak for almost 2 years after what you did. You chose someone who made you feel seen for a moment, over someone who gave you everything." Her words hit like stones. I don't remember much else from that night. Only the hollow feeling, the spinning room, and the alcohol I used to drown it all. Rachel, the person who knew my marriage inside and out. The one I'd cried to, vented to, trusted. Had married the man I once thought I'd grow old with. And she never told me. Never once reached out. When I returned home, something cracked in me. I looked at Jason, at the life we'd built, and it suddenly felt foreign. Me. Pulled away. I started spending my nights flipping through old photos. Of Adam smiling, of quiet mornings wrapped in blankets and books. Memories I thought were long buried came flooding back. And they hurt more than I thought possible. Jason noticed. He asked questions. I avoided them. Until one night, he pressed harder and I broke. I told him everything about Rachel, the marriage, the pain. He stared at me in disbelief. "You're acting like you're the one who was betrayed," he said, shaking his head. "I've known about them for a while. It's been all over social media. You just didn't want to see it." That set something off in me. I yelled at him for not telling me. For letting me walk into that party blind. For watching me unravel and saying nothing. "You still love him," he said finally, quietly. "No, I don't," I snapped. "If you didn't," he said, "this wouldn't be tearing you apart." We fought all night. The next morning, I left and stayed with my parents. When I came back, nothing had changed. Tension clung to the air like smoke. "You're emotionally cheating," he said. "And honestly, maybe that's worse." In a moment of cruel defense, I shot back that he didn't understand because none of his relationships had been real or deep. I regretted it the moment it left my mouth. But the damage was done. That night I lay awake, haunted by everything. Every choice, every word I should have said differently, every red flag I ignored. I had mistaken quiet love for complacency. I had believed that passion had to be loud, fast, and all-consuming. But Adam gave me something better. A love rooted in peace, in respect, in something enduring. Now Rachel lives that life. She receives the thoughtful gestures, the birthday notes, the quiet steadiness that once belonged to me. And I get silence. The kind of silence that isn't angry or bitter, but final. I hoped for closure. But I've come to understand that not all endings are clean. Some leave you staring at a door you closed yourself, one that will never open again. And maybe that's what karma really looks like. Not a dramatic fall from grace, but a quiet, aching forgetfulness. Being erased from the hearts you can't erase from your own.